Hey guys, this is my 1977 economy tractor. If you've seen my channel before, you probably already recognize it. Have some other videos of it out, but not any show and tell walk around videos of it that I've done before. So figured that I would do that. Today actually marks the 1-year anniversary of ownership and figured I'd do something special. So to start off, I'd like to begin by dedicating this video to all my friends on the forums that I post on, and really appreciate you guys taking interest and following along. So to explain a little bit of my history on this tractor, I purchased it from my next door neighbor who was the original owner of it, purchased it new back in 1977. They mainly used it for mowing. As you can see, it's got the mowing deck on it, and they also have which they still have, a front grader blade for it, and I'd like to acquire that from them someday, but that's another story. My history with this tractor is that when I was growing up as a little kid, I used to go out and watch across from the chain link fence and watch them mow with it. I used to think it was just the coolest looking thing, you know, that you could use to mow the lawn with it. You know, when I was little, I had never seen quite a tractor of this nature before. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. It really had a nice sound to it. There's no mistake in hearing this thing fire up while I was inside, and I'd just go running out and watch across the fence while they would mow with this. It was just really cool. So to be able to own it today is really special for me. It brings back a whole lot of memories, that's for sure. But the story goes with this one, they hadn't used it in several years, so I contacted them last year and said, I expressed my interest in it and would love to own it, and so I made them an offer, and that was that. They mainly did keep it in their garage, so the paint and everything is in pretty decent shape for what it is. However, if you can bear with me for a moment, it's hard to lift the hood and hold the camera at the same time, but get her done. But as I was saying, it hadn't been ran in several years, and they kept it outside for a while. So when I got it, it had some things that needed to be taken care of, which I'll go over. The engine, I did the basics of what you would do to any machine that hasn't been ran in a while. I cleaned the carburetor, replaced the air filter. It had the original fuel lines on it. They're cracked from the inside, and so I replaced those. Cleaned the gas tank, replaced all the replenished all the fluids. There was one little hiccup in the middle of getting this going, and that was the spark plug. I believe the plug that was in it before was original. It was seized in the head, and I attempted to extract it myself, but I wasn't having much luck, and honestly I just didn't feel comfortable going further than that. I didn't want to risk damaging the head, so I took the head down to a machine shop and I had them professionally remove it. And after getting that back on, it was just a simple matter of turning the key and putting some gas in it, and she fired right up. It was sure fun to hear it run after all these years. Well, we've got the hood open. I'll start off with some other things I've done under the hood here. But the original wiring to the headlights, it was completely broken off in one spot. I believe that the PTO drive belt here in the front got caught in it at one point and just shredded it. So I rewired it up to the switch and put some new headlight bulbs in it, and it works great. This is the hydraulic pump, which I will go over later, but as you can see, that's where it is. It's kind of hidden down there. We'll close the hood so we can get a better look at the machine. Next, I installed this drain fitting down here. Originally it just had a bolt, and when you took that out to drain the oil, it would just pretty much go everywhere, and so this makes the oil changes much more clean and simple. I would like to, I'm still kind of looking for one, but I'd like to just put a normal pull style dipstick in there versus having to put a crescent wrench every time when you want to change or check the oil. It's a little inconvenient in my opinion. This mowing deck needed some work when I got it. Like I said, it was parked outside for a few years. Those idler pulleys, as you can see, are new. The originals were seized when I got it. And so a fellow named Jerry Frank, who is kind of a go-to guy for a lot of parts for these old tractors, I was in contact with him quite a bit over this past year, maybe for good or for worse. Got to know him pretty well. He's a real nice guy. But replaced those. I did some adjustments to the deck as well. I had to space it back for these taller tires that I installed, because when you turn the wheels all the way to left and right, they would rub on the deck, and I'll go over that a little bit in a minute. This is kind of an ongoing process, but I've been also replacing a lot of the hardware. A lot of it's been mismatched, and some of it was just plain old rusty too, and I've just been replacing it bit by bit, piece by piece, with stainless hardware. As you can see, these are replacements. They also had some nasty, if you've been following along the update threads, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's that bolt that was through there, one of the holes down there, and had a nail and stuff. It was pretty nasty, so I replaced all that with cotter pins and things to make the deck real easy to pull off and on and off. But we'll get back here to the tires. These are not the original tires. These are about 1.25 inches taller or so, and a little over 1 inch wider. And so, as with any vehicle, or in this case being a tractor, if you install taller tires, you're bound to run into some kind of clearance issue. And so it ended up being the deck with this and the steering arm here on the left side. And so to overcome that problem, I ended up having custom wheel spacers made. And that in itself is a very controversial subject. You're either not going to like it, or you will, or you'll love it. And you know, some people are going to say, oh, that's putting way too much stress on your kingpins, how could you do that? And your wheel bearings, you know, that's not going to last long, this and that. But you know, I'm going to run it, and haven't had any problems with it. So until that happens, it's how it's going to be. It also gives it a little bit of a wider stance, which I think is kind of cool. The specs on the front are 2 inch, and the specs on the back are 1 inch. Again, these are custom made by Motorsport Tech. This battery box here, that's obviously not original. That's something that I installed. The battery originally was just open out into the elements, and I like it, you know, kind of sealed up and things, so I installed that, and that's the battery tender lead, as you can see there. And more lighting. This light here was a light that I won from a My Tractor Forum contest, which was pretty cool, special and a big honor in itself. And I think it really goes well with the style of the tractor. You know, has that round look, vintage look to it, and goes with the style of the fenders and things. It's pretty cool lit up at night. Most recent thing that I've done to this tractor is replaced the rear differential fluid. Honestly, I kind of put that off because it's not as easy as just swapping in a new gasket. You either have to make a new gasket, or you can just use you know, gasket sealer. But to me, that wasn't really I don't know, not quite the best way to go about it. So I made a template from the original gasket and just cut some out of gasket material, made a new one. So otherwise, all the fluids have been replaced. A lot of people with these tractors, they put in STP, the additive STP, in their transmission or a mixture of STP and gear oil, and so that's supposed to kind of help eliminate grinding and things. But when I did mine, I just installed some thicker weight gear oil, and I think it kind of has the same purpose as the STP, only it's just thicker weight gear oil. The biggest thing that I've done to this machine is convert it to hydraulics. Originally it was a manual lift tractor, and it also wasn't really configured as kind of a base model machine. It didn't come with the secondary transmission. It does have the 3-point on the back, but it's kind of basic other than that. And I plan on running a grater blade at some point whenever I can get my hands on that other one I mentioned earlier, and I'd say the manual lift setup with a blade would get pretty tiring quick. So on one of the forums, somebody had referred me on to a fellow that was parting one of these tractors out and had a complete hydraulic kit, so that's how I came about that. And with the help of folks on the Yahoo group with photos of how to install it and route the hoses and all that, I was able to install everything perfectly. It was just a real clean install, no problems. Hardest part was getting these pins out that held the big arm on there. That was a pain. And as I said in the thread, once I got those out, then the project could really take off, because they couldn't do anything with those guys still stuck in there. The kit was pretty complete. The only parts that was missing was this foot guard here, and this is actually an NOS piece. It may not look like it because it's got some scratches in it, but it's actually shelf wear. This arm right here is NOS too, and both of them were bought from Jerry Frank. The hoses for the hydraulic kit, those are actually new hoses I had made. The originals that came with it they had some bad cracks and things, and one of my biggest goals with this tractor is to keep it as reliable as possible and not cut corners here and there, so that even though it's kind of, a big expense, to me it was worth the reliability in the long run. And that would be no fun to be working the machine and out in the field and have one of these things bust open and have to go and tear down the system, drain the fluid, and make a big mess everywhere. So having the new hoses and things, in my opinion, makes it more reliable in the long run. So structurally, I mean, it's a pretty sound machine. It did have some rust around the brake pedals here. When I was doing the conversion, I had this whole top piece off, and so at the time I took it down to a body shop, and they just cut out. I hadn't cut out the rust and welded in some new metal in there. I could have just waited until I fully restore this machine one day, but I figured, it's a great time to do it anyway, and I didn't want the rust to spread any further than it already had. And as I mentioned before, the little pump is under the hood there. The routing of the hoses goes underneath, and then they connect up to the pump in there. That's obviously the control valve, and the 3-point and the deck runs off of will go up and down depending on the lever position. That's not the gas tank, because it almost looks like a gas tank, but that's for the hydraulic fluid. I put this little black pad thing on the back here because the 3-point will actually hit the tank if you extend it all the way. So I just put that little pad in there so it doesn't dent the tank. And it will need a seat restore sometime. That's something that's probably needs to be done sooner than later. I'd like to do a leather seat on this. Overall, it's it's pretty much all original, and I'm just enjoying it in that state. I would like to fully restore it in one day and repaint it. The way I remember it being is a little more red in color. I think it's faded to a more light orange over the years, but that's going to be down the road when I do a restore. I want to enjoy it in its original state a while longer. I'll show you the dash here. It's kind of cool on these tractors. There's a lot of instructions, as you can see on here, operating instructions that tells you how to do everything, caution, lubrication. It's kind of neat that all that stuff is still intact and things like that. Again, I don't think it was really worked all that hard. They mainly used it for mowing. I don't believe it has that many hours on it either. It runs, you know, it starts right up, it runs good, it's got really nice compression. This was another thing that I did. I painted this, whatever you want to call it, the black bumper here. It was kind of all rusty and stuff before. This is how you can date if you have the chart, this is how you date what year it is. So this is again, it's a 77. Right in the transition time when the economy name was turning over to the Power King name, as you can see up on the hood here. I think that pretty much covers it for now. I've just really enjoyed owning it. It's a real you know, memorable thing to own it. Every time I hop on it, I remember back to when I was a kid watching it in action across the fence. So it's, you know, for me, I really like, you know, sentimental type things like that. So it's really neat to finally own it. Well, I really appreciate you guys checking it out, and thank you. I want to say thank you to you guys again for following along my lengthy updates that I've done over the past year of this machine, and really appreciate it. That's really means a lot, and hope you enjoy this. Alright, we'll see you guys around.